Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, here with the wonderful, crazy Willow tonight. And we are right here on the Conscious Awakening Network. And I want to welcome you to tonight's episode and invite you to join us on our many platforms. So if you're watching us on YouTube, hit like and subscribe. If you are watching us on the Android phone or iPhone app, thank you so much. Or maybe you're watching us on Roku, Amazon, Apple TV. Who knows? But thank you so much. And if you're listening to us on any of our podcasting audio locations, thank you again for joining us. It's always an honor to work with you and to speak with you wherever you are. Now, I just want to give a couple more announcements really quick, and I say more because I've been sharing them for the last week or so. I'm going to be speaking at the Light Language Conference in Colorado in Arvada, May 30th through the 1st. Please check that out at lightlanguageconference.com, and on May 9th through the 11th at the New Living Expo, and that's on Sunday at 11 o'clock. So I hope you will join me as I talk about the multidimensional grids and working with Elder Mother Tiamu and giving a light language alignment to activate your grids. Excuse me. So tonight, Sean, it's hard to believe it's been an entire month, but my co-host for the last night of this month is Sean Lether. Now, Sean, through a series of spiritually transformative experiences and near-death experiences and their powerful after effects, woke up to his true spiritual nature and discovered his life purpose. Now, that purpose did not revolve around his previous success in academics or in business. Rather, it revolved around his soul's purpose, centered around mind, body, and spirit healing, and of being in service to others. Now, Sean is a dynamo and he is involved in so many things. Sean, I want to bring you up. I want you to share with everyone, a little bit more about who you are and what you've got going on.
Oh, thank you, Sheila. I'm so proud to be here, and it's been a wonderful 5 weeks with you. And I saved my great friend Yvonne Sneeden for last. Yeah, I had this couple of near-death experiences and all kinds of spiritually transformative experiences that forever changed me. And I didn't understand any of it 5 years ago when it happened. And through starting little sharing groups, and speaking with other NDEers and SDEers, that has helped me heal. And I've found that we all heal together. So if any of you have had NDEs or any spiritually transformative experience like Kundalini awakenings and mystical experiences, UFO experiences, please join us. And we're having an event tomorrow night that I'll stick in the chat later. So hope to see you there. And now I'd like to introduce my great friend, Yvonne Sneeden. Yvonne is a two-time near-death experience survivor. For over a decade, she has been a local organizer and invited speaker for IONS and is executive co-producer of Back from the Light, a documentary film focusing on near-death experience survivors and their after effects. Since her profound experience, Yvonne is striving to bring the elements of her NDE into her daily life and to share what she has learned from her NDE experience and bring the all-loving presence she experienced to help others live a happier life in the now. She is also a compassionate spiritual healer and teacher dedicated to helping people overcome deep wounds and emotional pain. Through prayer and healing sessions, she guides individuals towards inner peace, renewal, and a fresh hope. Prior to her NDE, Yvonne's professional career background included working in the Foreign Diplomatic Service in Europe and a lobby to the European Union. She has realized that regardless of the level of social and public influence people exercise, we're all on a journey towards learning how to love. In her professional career, Yvonne currently works for an IT company as a leader and in customer delivery. And her website is liveheavennow.com. And I will share that and the link to Back from the Light, the documentary, in the chat. Welcome, Yvonne. So glad you joined us.
Hi, Sean. I'm so happy to see you again. It's been a few months, and each time we see each other, we have that love hug. And I'm giving you a love hug virtually.
Hmm.
Thank you for welcoming me, and Sheila, thank you for hosting this event and welcoming me as well. Hi, everyone. Hi,
I'm
everyone.
excited to hear you. This is the first time I've had the opportunity to hear your story.
Oh, wow. I'm excited too. I know some people have heard it several times, but I'm always happy to share because I know that there's always somebody somewhere that actually is encouraged by the message, is encouraged by the understanding of who we are, and in a bigger aspect of our reality here. So I'm excited.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Sean, do you have an opening question? Because if not, I do.
Okay, yeah, no what? Go right ahead, Sheila. And then maybe you could just Yvonne, you could share a little bit about who you were before the NDE, and then share the NDE and some of your changes afterwards. But go ahead, Sheila. Start out with the question.
That was my question.
Oh, that was your question?
That was my question. I love it. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
well,
guess I've been around you so long, I read your mind now, huh?
That's a scary thought.
so my first language is French, first of all. So for people who are wondering what accent I have, I'm French, but I've been so long in the US, so I have an Americanized French accent. That's why people cannot always know where I am. I grew up in Belgium, a country next between France and Germany, but it's also the first language is French and Dutch. It's a bilingual country. So I will start when a few years ago, when I was in my 20, I discovered I was looking for what's the meaning of life. I had succeeded in my career, diplomacy, European Union. I was meeting with kings and ambassadors and all the high up in that social level that we are considering on Earth. But I felt like inside me something was missing. So in a short summary, I'm trying to summarize because I want to be more into what we're here for. I traveled in Brazil, in all the country, in Thailand and Brazil, and I saw so many. So I eventually, through all those trips, I decided to look into more of the meaning of life. And from my experience, because I grew up in a Catholic environment and Christian. So I found spirituality again through Christ, looking into a book that was telling, uh, a book that was actually a priest communicating with the afterlife. And he was talking about Jesus, and that's what brought me back there. I left my career to go to seminary for a while, and then I became a minister, a reverend, a minister, a reverend in Europe, and I spoke in many churches, even the ones where women were not allowed to speak. And back in those days, there were in France, we were five women that were daring to speak about God and Christ's love, because it was very hard for women. But after that, long story short, I moved to the US after a divorce from my first husband. And I moved to the US because I had met an American man. So when I moved to we had been going back and forth for a while, and then when I moved to the U.S., he changed. He became from Mr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. He became very abusive, and I was stuck here. I had left all my career, my family, my friends, my life, which I really loved, and moved to the U.S. So that because of all that, I had to restart my career, raise my daughter, didn't have a family support, friend support, didn't know how everything was functioning here in the US. And so I developed arrhythmia. And my heart started to pay the cost of all that stress. And eventually, that's what led to my two near-death experiences. I went to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist gave me some medication for when I had an attack. So for people that have had arrhythmia, it is, and for those who don't know what it is, it's really your heart racing without you being able to stop it. We can try to relax, to do anything. It's racing, and it can be life-threatening because, I really felt that it was going to explode, that I was going to die. And so one evening, I was so afraid to have that. I wanted to have a good night rest, and I didn't want to be awakened by that. So I took a medication that the cardiologist had actually given me. Later on, a friend of mine was an anesthetist in Duke Hospital here looked at the medication because I told her what happened, and she said 100% those medication created a heart stop. So here I am that evening so I was, a strong born again Christian. I still love God and Christ with all my heart. But what was going to happen wasn't thought in my type of faith. I wasn't thought about what I was going to say. I was just following the traditional Christian teaching. So I have taken the medication, and as soon as I lay my head on the bed, I saw my body lifeless. And I want to say hi to some friends. Ned, I know you're here. I'm going to say hi. I see you here. I'm so thankful that you are joining here. And so as soon as I lay my head on the bed, I saw my lifeless body. And when I looked at the end of the bed, I saw two huge beings of light, angelic beings. They were dressed in white robe of light. Both of them looked identical. They were really having the countenance of majesty, of all power, of peace, but also immense strength. And they were just there looking at me at the end of my bed. Their hair were white, curly, white blonde, curly up to here, and they were made of light. Their skin was white like light, and they were very tall and thin, and they looked at me very peacefully, and telepathically they told me, Yvonne, it's time to go. We're leaving. And I have to say that before that event happened, 2 weeks prior to that, I had received a message which was totally 100% sure in my heart that I was going to die, and I had an immense peace about it. And I knew that I knew that I knew that this life on earth was ending. I had received that message, and I even called my sister in Europe to tell her that I may be dying soon. And I told her not to worry about it. And of course, she was so freaking out. And so here I am, the two beings of light, white blondish hair, curly, wavy like that, too short, and them looking at me with all the majesty and all the power. I could feel that all their countenance was made of the divine light, the highest divinity of light that exists. It was so powerful, and they looked at me telepathically, telling me, Yvonne, it's time to go. And I had total peace about that. I had complete peace. And eventually, I told them, yes, okay, I'm coming. It is like, my past. I wasn't even thinking about my daughter who was alone in her room. I wasn't thinking of anything because it feels like I was in a state of amnesia. Everything that had happened, I couldn't remember. All I remember was the moment, the present moment. And I knew that they only wanted good for me. So I said, yes, I'm coming. Behind them, when they were saying that, Yvonne, it's time to go, behind them was a spaceship made of light. It was a white pearly spaceship, very sleek like that, white pearly, very long, very sleek. And it is like the shape underneath was like that, and above was the same shape. It was exactly the same form, but the top was actually open like a shell. And so they say, and it was just standing behind them, and they say, Yvonne, it's time to go. And I said, yes, I'm coming. It's totally, I felt like it was totally normal that this was happening. I had no question, why is it happening? I was in total peace. I felt that those two beings had so much power in them that anything that could happen around the cosmos, in the universe, in any reality, would never ever affect me because they were so powerful and so protective. They had that a huge strength and power. And so I said, yes, I'm coming with you. And so they both stand next to me, each of them, and I was in the middle. And we proceeded towards the spaceship. And when we arrived there, there were three seats, so each of them sat on the on each side, and I sat in the middle. And I knew that's what I had to do. And they never communicated with me after that. The only words they said was, "Yvonne, it's time to go." And while it, like soldier that that accompany high level president, kings, you can see them. They're always looking into the distance because their only mission is to protect and to walk with that. I'm not saying that I'm a king or a president, but once we are outside of the light, that's, I think we're all powerful beings, very, very sacred, very powerful beings. And so they just were sitting next to me, and the being next to my right, with his left hand, handle just put there, just pulled on a handle, and that top of the top of the spaceship just closed. And when it pulled on the handle, in 1 second, we crossed the entire universe. Like you see in those science fiction movies where there's a warp and then you see they go and they are just gone in 1 second. Well, I experienced that. Honestly, I really experienced that. I could feel myself being in the cosmos, being in the universe, and I could feel that strength. But it was in a peaceful way. We were not, we were not. Depending on gravity or anything. I don't know what was the technology, but it was just in 1 second we'd crossed the entire universe, and we arrived on a type of planet. And I would say, if you want to see a vision, it's not the moon, but imagine that you're on the moon. Everything is dark around, and actually the surface has no life. It's all mountains, but made of rocks. That's how we arrived there, peacefully landed. And I don't know how we did the transition, but suddenly I was inside a structure. I was inside a structure, and in that structure, there were about 20 to 25 beings. They were not dressed in white gowns. They had normal outfit, a pant and a top like that. And they were about 20 to 25. They were made of light. The inside of their body was made of pure light, pure divine light, just not a light and a random light. It was the light of divinity that creates everything, and it was everywhere in that place. Everything was illuminated with that light, whether the ground, the people, the inside, there was no bones, no muscles. It was all made of light. And all the structure, the type of furniture that were there were made of light. All those structure and furniture were actually emanating life from the inside out. Everything was made, and it was made of divine light. It was like creator, source, God, anything you want to call it, was omnipresent and was in people and everywhere around. And so so that's when I arrived there, I knew that I had made a long, very long trip, and that I was finally home. That Earth was such a long distance away, and almost like I was waking up from a dream, a nightmare actually, like when everyone, when sometimes we have a nightmare and we wake up in the morning and we're so relieved because actually it was just a dream. It was not a reality. I was like, oh my God, what was that? I'm so happy. It was just a dream. That's exactly the feeling I had. Oh my God, Earth was a dream. This is my real place. And this is my real family, my real tribe. And everybody was so excited. They were just cheering me and said, she's back, she's here, she's back, she's back. And for me, in my faith, we existed only on Earth. That's where we were born. And first of all, there was no extraterrestrial, there were nothing about spaceship mentioned. So though I could actually uh, think that when you read some of the portion of the Bible, there are some structure where it says there, he came in a chariot of fire. There were real turning around, and I do believe that there must have been something similar. And so eventually, they were all excited, and they're bringing me into another place, another room where we all sat on those structure made of light, and they are surrounding me, so happy to see me. Like when you're with your own family, you're a clan, you're in that clan. That's the family. That's how I felt. I was with my family, the one that would give anything for me. And actually, they were trying to serve me and look at things to give me. Do you want this? Do you want that? And because in that world, that's how everyone is with each other. Everyone serve each other because over there you don't have the fear and the anxiety earth brings on us, so that we have to just protect ourselves and be kind of self-centered because we know that if we give too much, we'll be taken advantage of. But in that world, all that doesn't exist. People give and receive, and it's a feast. And it's amazing the love that's given to each other, and the sharing of love is not from this world. Everyone was love. And after we caught up, they were asking what I was doing on Earth. I was sharing, and we were just rejoicing. And just like, when it's your birthday, everyone is around you and celebrating you. That's the feeling I had. I was the point of interest at that time, and I was with my own people. So happy to be home. And at some point, one of those lady beings that I would suggest is I would think is a bit more advanced spirit, or maybe ever bigger responsibility, came to me, and she took my cheek like that, and with so much love, so much kindness, and so much support, emotional support, she said to me, Yvonne, your life on planet Earth is such a difficult one. And you remember I was on my own in a country I didn't know, with raising my daughter, having escaped from an abusive marriage. And so I said, yes, it's very difficult there. And she said, but you have to go back. You have to go back to, and I knew it was right. I knew I hadn't complete my mission on earth, or what I had to do or to learn. And I didn't resist that. She said, you have to go back to earth because that container there, which is your body, uh, if you don't go back now, you will never be able to reintegrate it, to complete what I had to complete. And I said, yes, okay, I'm gonna go back. And when I said that, those two beings that had drove me there, flew me there, were not there when we had that reunion, family reunion. They were back there waiting for me, like soldier. They were there waiting for me, just the same way they were when we left. And I just went in between them without words. We knew what had to, I knew what I had to do. And because in that world, you know everything. People don't have to explain everything to you, because we work through telepathy and through knowing. It's beyond telepathy. It's a knowing. Everything is known. And so I was back in the middle of them. We went back into that spaceship. It closed, and the same way we left, we came back through Earth. And then I felt reintegrating my body through the top, and it reintegrated it. So that was, when I was I never expect people say, yeah, maybe you were influenced, but I had never even thought of aliens or extraterrestrial because, or because I was not in that world. I had never been thought that way. And to be honest, those two beings were very angelic looking. To me, they were the highest level of reality that exist. There's so many planets. I believe there's many physical planets where you have different beings existing, but all those beings, when they die, they go back to the world of light. That's my belief. I mean, I'm not saying, and that's where I went for my second near-death experience. I went in the world of light, which I will be briefer with that one because I wanted to share because this is a topic more, this meeting here is more about extraterrestrial. So I'll be very brief on the second one so I can share all the other experiences I had. So the second one, I went to the world of light where creator, a source or God exists, is centralized, I would say, the center of matrix of all realities. You can call it the way you want. But because on earth we fight and we're angry and oh no, it's Allah, no, it's Buddha, no, oh no, it's a higher self, no, there's all those words because we have to speak with words here to explain a concept. But the concept it's the same thing that we all are trying to explain in different ways. It's the creator of all existence, the matrix of life. That's how I say the creator of all things from which we come and we one day will return. And so that's the second one. I was immediately also with my arrhythmia about 3 weeks later or a month later. I didn't count because I didn't know it was an ND until I went to IANS. I didn't know how to call it. And so the next one, I was bathed in God's light completely. I was a soul that had that had returned from all the physical experiences and was now basking in God's love itself. It was peace, love, uh, everything that was negative or stressful was totally gone. It was even non-existing. In that same light, Christ came towards me, Jesus came to me, engulfed me, loved me, showering me with tenderness, with kindness, with affection, with joy, like a mother and a father would see their first newborn with admiration, with pride, and just ecstatic to see that beautiful soul that was his. Jesus was a male and a female energy in one unit. So it's a it, but I will say him because that's how we call him on earth. And I was cradling his arm like a baby or a toddler that feels so safe in her parents' arms that nothing could ever happen. So Jesus later on, we proceeded outside of, I asked many questions. My YouTube, I have a YouTube video with all the experience if you want to go. But so I asked questions and then we proceeded outside of the light. There I saw children angels, women angels, magnificent, 14 feet high, filled with sacred love, sacred kindness, purity of emotion and of love that embraced me. They told me I was home, I was one of them. They were so majestic and reverential towards me. But I think in that world, everyone is reverential towards others because the other one is higher than ourselves. It's bigger. We think of the other first, which is the opposite of earth, where it's us first and the other after. But that in that world we don't have to fear anymore, so we can give freely, and not feel that we're giving something away where we'll be taken advantage of. It's finally home where love exists and in everything, breathe in everything, in emotion, in love, in we are home where that world exists, and Christ was a being of light, of unconditional love. His whole being was sparkling light of love. And while he was communicating with me, I could feel that he was also creating worlds, creating other things, other reality. He was pulsating life. He was life itself. It was unconditional love itself. above all religion. He was unconditional love that was actually within the creator of all. And so after all that, and I merged with Christ. He showed me how much he loved his people. And to do that, he took my essence, who Yvonne is, and he merged me, my heart, with his heart. So we became one being. We can do that in the world of light. We can become one being. We can merge with each other when we want to really have the other person, other being, other spirit feel exactly how we feel. And I merged with Christ. And when I merged, I was in an explosion of unconditional love for everyone, everything that exists, nature, planets, dimension, realities, people. Everything was an explosion of love. Everything was worth love and being loved. It was incredible. So, but I'm stopping there. Uh, I just did a summary of that experience because when I came back, from the moment I came back, I came back through different dimensions and realities. And then, just like the first time, my spirit reintegrating my body through the head. That actually, all those two experiences were the second one was more in line with my faith, as I was a strong Christian. But but the first one with the spaceship, and we were taught that all that is from the devil. So it was really, I had to wrap up my mind with what I had experienced because it was just pure love. There was no darkness, there was no evil in it at all. I had never 1 second experienced anything mean or dark. It was just the opposite. So what I did, I started to try to find out what was the meaning of that experience. But a lot of near-death experiencers, when we have an NDE, some of us have spontaneous out-of-body experiences now. And because the veil is open, from this world to the other. So it's been torn. So now sometimes we have access to that other dimension. So I started to have more and more different experiences with other worlds. One of them that I will explain, I was out of my body, and I looked up in the sky. I don't know where I was, but I looked in the sky, and the sky looked like a kaleidoscope. You know, when we were kids, there all those kaleidoscope where you can turn and it each time change colors and you have all those shades. Well, that sky looked like that. There was no blue. It was filled with all kind of shape of colors. And each time I looked in another direction, it was changing. And it was just magnificent. And at some point, I said, I have to go back into my body because it's going to be morning. I have to take care of my daughter. And so I saw myself going through the house. I had to go through my daughter's room first. So I went through my daughter's room. I saw her sleeping. And then I went through my room and then I reintegrating my body. 2 days later, I am out of my body again. And there I am on a planet. And on that planet, there are beings from different planets, and we're all together, and we're explaining what we are doing on each of our planet. And then I speak to one of the beings, and I explain what had happened to me by looking at that sky with all those different kaleidoscope forms and colors. And I said, I've seen that. I don't know where I was. And then that being said to me, "Oh, that's how the sky is on my planet." And so that was one of the experience. I had another experience that I can share. After coming back from my NDE, I had to deal with my daughter who was a teenager now, and she had suffered so much rejections and pain at school, bullied at school, and her own biological father wasn't in her life. So she had a lot of pains, and so she had a lot of pain when she was a teenager, and it was hard for me to handle as I was on my own in the US, no family, no friend support. So 24/7 handling everything. And I just came back from my NDE where all was light and love and peace. And then my daughter was in rebellious state, listening to AC/DC at home. And so it was really hard for me. I did, and I decided in my mind, and it was really the first time I had that conviction. It's just like the same conviction that I had when I knew I was going to die. This was those two moments of my life. I had the same conviction at that time that I was going to stop loving my daughter because it was too painful. I was going to detach myself and I was just going to help her logistically, give food, shelter, college, studies, everything. She would have everything, but not my love. It was too hard because of all the friction we had at home. And so I was completely determined. Uh, a couple of nights later, I come out of my body and I find myself in a mother spaceship. I am in a mother spaceship. And in that mother spaceship, it was miles wide, miles high. Everything was white. There was nothing. It was just white. And in front of me were about 10 to 12 beings. They were not in white gowns. They were in, those futurist outfits that you see in science fiction movies. They had pants and top, but it was actually sticking to their skin. They were also blonde. Every time I've seen extraterrestrials, they were blonde. They had blonde hair, women and men, and they were all dressed in similar uniforms. And they all had short hair to here, and they had the same countenance, very powerful, very strong, very controlled, and they were extremely powerful, but at the same time peaceful and loving. And they said to me telepathically, Yvonne, we've come to you because the Great One wants to speak to you. And when they said that, before I say what happened, behind them, while they were standing there and talking to me, behind them was also another being just like them with that same suit, who was sitting, and his back was facing me. And he was actually working on a computer, which was a hologram computer. There was nothing but just that hologram, and he was softly touching things. I have talked to somebody has who has actually been in the Secret Service. He said he has been in the service, the space program or anything. And when I told him about my story, he finished my sentence. He knew, he said, and I said, oh my God. And he said, yeah, I've been in one of those spaceships for real. And so there was that computer that was working, and actually that person that I was communicating with, he's well known. He was at IONS. He was the one shown at IONS this last conference, Chris O'Connor, and he said, well, when they finish to work on that hologram computer, it goes back inside the floor because it's energy, and then that's how they do it. And so they were working in the back while those beings told me, Yvonne, it's time to go. We've come to you because the Great One wants to speak to you. And when they said that, there's like a huge being of light, pure light, half a mile high as the spaceship, which was half a mile high. It was a huge mother spaceship. And that being appeared, and it was very ancient, like a grandfather, but really an ancient spirit, very, very powerful, that I could feel he knew everything and everything that's around. It wasn't Jesus. It was a huge being of light, very powerful, but at the same time had some kindness and joy and tenderness, but also all-knowing. It was extremely impressive. And that being, which I think is creator or the matrix of life or source that took a form, a human form, to communicate with me. And he said, Yvonne, I've come to you to tell you, please keep teaching Eloise, which is my daughter's name, keep teaching Eloise about the kingdom of light, because one day she will make her way back home. Keep teaching about the kingdom of light. So when people ask me, do you think you're an extraterrestrial? Where do you come from? I know where I come from. I come from the kingdom of light because it would make sense, because that's where, if I have to keep teaching about the kingdom of light, it's because I come from the kingdom of light. And that has saved my daughter, because after that experience, I gave love against all odds, and I kept giving and giving, and it actually healed her. And today she has a master in psychology, and she's a very successful psychotherapist, and has opened her own side business of photography, wedding photographer, because she wants to balance the energies of people's issues that she carries, and then the wedding where everyone is celebrating. She's a 27 beautiful, 29, sorry, her time passed, beautiful soul. I have more experience, but I don't know if anyone has questions on those that I've just explained now.
I suspect Sheila probably has a huge list of questions.
Wow. That was absolutely amazing. You know, the one thing that I wanted to ask you, with all these experiences that you've had, which one really impacted you the most?
The one in the light with Christ that I haven't shared in all details, because we are more focusing. But that,
Oh,
when
please share. Please share. We want to hear everything.
Uh, because it's okay, because I wanted to focus on the extraterrestrial portion, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to align with whatever people would love to hear today. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
really, I think we would like to hear a little bit about what that experience was like for you, because a lot of times people have these various experiences and they don't know exactly what it is that they are experiencing, because they just have sensations, they have feelings, or they come away with some kind of a knowingness, but then that begins to fade. And so maybe something that you say might spark something in someone to say, that's what it was I experienced.
yeah,
yeah.
actually, so for the Jesus one, uh, what I can retain from that is to be merging with unconditional love of all creation.
Mhm.
So I can go back into some of the details which are more for human understanding than more than what I experienced in there. But there's one cool story about it. So when I left my body and I was, my organ had shut down, as I said, I was instantly in God's light of all creation. And the feeling I had forgotten who I was as a being on earth. I was a pure soul of light inside the light of all creation. But I was in the light, but I was also individual. And just basking, just enjoying. I was experiencing the highest level of happiness and joy we can experience in all the dimension, all the realities. I was at the peak of joy itself. It was a blissful moment that is hard to reproduce ever, or even everything I'm sharing is so pale comparing to the experience. Just imagine that 100 times more, more intense. And so just basking there, just being loved and love, and without any thoughts, I was a spirit of love. And then that being, there's that being that was made of light, which actually came and hovered above me, which and was just making all those movements of love and gentleness, and it came above me, and when it actually came above me and held me, I heard God's voice, or I will say God for my, but you can imagine your own word that is more comfortable to you. So God downloaded in my mind. And in that world, there is no room for doubt or self-interpretation. We are in the truth of everything. Everything is truth. Everything is what it is. And so God downloaded into me, this is Jesus. And that's how I knew it was Jesus. This is Jesus. And when Jesus held me, like I said earlier, I was just basking in that love, that tenderness, and I knew in my heart that I was going to have to go back to earth, and I pleaded with Jesus not to come back to earth. I knew I would not immediately at first. When I knew I was going to come back to earth, I was dating somebody again on earth in the church. And there's a big thing in the church where when you meet somebody, you always have to ask God if it's His will that we have that person in our life. It's kind of crazy because actually, God just wants you to be happy, but we are in anxiety. Is it the will of God? Is it, even though you're in love and everything, you love the person, but if you feel like, if somebody tells you through prayer, oh, God told me it's not the will of God for you, and some people would just walk away from that story because that's how much anxiety you have in that world. So I had that anxiety as well. And so I asked Jesus, if you send me back to earth, what do I have to do with Steve on earth? I call him Steve, it's not his real name. What do I have to do with him? Do I have to stay? Is it the will? And then that's when Jesus shifted in the air. We're still in the light, and he shifted in the air, and then he opened a screen where with two square, like on a form, and he ticked on the no, and he said, "You have to say no, no to meaning no to the relationship." And I asked him why Steve was always so mean in his word when we had a conflict. And Jesus, and then raising his voice and everything. And Jesus said to me very neutrally that actually it's because Steve had decided to experience this life on earth through his mind primarily, and that I had decided to experience my life on earth through my heart primarily. And both were equal. Both were equal. One was not better than the other. I wasn't also that better person because of it. It was just a different approach, and it was never going to match together. I also, one of the questions I asked Jesus, because I was totally detached from Earth. It was like it was another planet. It was just a planet far away. And I asked Jesus, why is there racism on that planet? Because obviously I had taken a form of somebody with a collar on me. We are spirit. We exist before coming to Earth. We do exist before coming to Earth, and we decide of what color of skin we'll have, what family we will live in, what we want to experience on earth, and everything we decide. And that's why it's so ridiculous when people fight for colors all over the world, in all the direction. I've seen it in all the direction, the racism, because I've traveled the world. And it was always one specific race or tribe. And when we think of it, and I always give that same picture so that we can understand, we're all made of light. We're all amazing beings of light, celestial beings that come for an experience either on Earth or on other planets. So imagine that we come and we decided of the color of the car we will drive. Imagine us. We decide, and then we decide to one person take a white car, the other a gray car, the other one's a black car, and then out of a sudden we hate that person because they are driving a yellow car, because they are not the car, they are the being inside the car. And we're all inside beings of light. This is just a cover for us to experience this journey on earth. And so I asked Jesus why people totally detached with no hurt or just by curiosity. And Jesus actually went back into just came back to in front of me and a little bit back like that, and he said very neutral. He wasn't saying anything to condemn or criticize anyone. He said it is because of their self-centeredness. And that was the last thing I was even thinking of, because I would have said maybe it's because they were raised that way, the area, the country, the upbringing, maybe a trauma with one specific race that happened, anything but the self-centeredness. And actually, he explained that, you know, probably because we grew up in such an adversity, everything as a human, we want to be surrounded with whatever reminds us of us. We want to be surrounded with people that when I see them, they remind us of who we are. Physically, they remind us of who we are. So they do things like we do. Everything is a remembrance of us. That's in that sense the self-centeredness. And it makes total sense because once we get out of that self-absorbed mentality that unfortunately in this day and age, it on the whole planet, that's really what's happening more and more. It's that self-centered, self-adulation, and we forget that we're on earth to love others and to learn how to love like Creator love unconditionally, and help others and serve others. So many experiencers, when they go back home, are asked that question: what did you do for others on earth? How did you love others? But so I'm kindly reminding each of us, including me, to remember that we are there for others as well, because we learn so much by doing that. We're learning for our next journey. When we're going home, we have actually learned so much more, because it's so hard to get to give sometimes to others, because we are ourselves having so much challenges in our own personal life. And I'm sorry for that being that's keep going on here.
No, it's beautiful. And so there's a quick question from the audience, but then I have another question that I want to ask you, and I'll just ask Heidi's question real quick. She wanted to know if you spontaneously leave your body or if you do it consciously.
So the out of body is spontaneous. I don't do it consciously. I ask each time Creator or God just to give me some experience, and so that's what I do. And then because I think for me it's the best experience, because they are purposeful and they have a higher meaning than me enjoying myself on a journey outside my body. What I want to have is experience that can help others as well, and give informations to others.
I love that you said that, because I've been trying to do grounding to stay in my body, and I'm not very good at it. So,
As Creator, we are part of Creator. We are part
well,
of.
somebody mentioned it seems to work for you, because especially before I do meetings, I'm always leaving my body. And I didn't even know it until somebody had pointed it out once, that I have trouble staying in my body. So I'm glad that you said that. But what I love about you, and for everyone to know, which of course they can feel, is just the love that emanates from you, that truly they call them after effects of near-death experiences, and Yvonne is like the embodiment of experiencing the Christ consciousness,
Yeah,
which is.
actually, I merge with Jesus unconditional love. And it's not to boast or say, oh, you're so amazing. No, it's not that. But when you come back here, it's like that love is taken part of my own essence, and it doesn't leave. It's there. I cannot. I'm not pretending. That's always there in me, and so I want to give the gift to others, so that they are encouraged that love is there for each of us.
Yeah, and you remind me, so there's that Bible quote, the meek shall inherit the earth. And it seems like, in my experience running these groups for like 5 years now, I guess, that it's always the ones that have been abused and by narcissists or dysfunctional families or something that have these experiences. And so what was interesting is when I did a thing with Sheila, remember that talk we did where basically I was talking about interdimensional communication and near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kenneth Ring, he did this book in 1992, which I'll stick in the chat, and it's basically about near-death experiences and UFOs. And what he calls people like you, like me, like many of us, is experience-prone individuals. And it tends to be a result of the trauma that somehow opens us up
You
for
know,
something.
I believe that because you see, when I had my first NDE with the spaceship, I knew I had actually reached the end of the battery of my life. The battery, like you have on a electronic, you have a battery, and when it's end, it stops. I knew that I had reached the end of it. I think that when you've been abused, you have a miserable life and all those things. You're using so much of your battery that at some point you go back home for a refilling or something.
Yeah,
That's
I used to
going
I'd call it a tune-up.
Yeah,
Because
a
it seemed like the
tune-up. Yeah.
ICU is where I got my best messages.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tune-up, I think so. And I don't, and it's not having a victim mentality. I do believe that everyone who suffered, whether you had an NDE or not, everyone who has suffered and made them a much more a beautiful beings, a beautiful soul, a spirit when they are adult. I think it's amazing because we have accepted before coming to Earth to go through a boot camp so that we could grow faster and understand more who we are and how and the things of life and compassion and empathy through the things we've gone through. Because we can, when somebody comes to us with an issue, we can identify, we can relate, because we know what pain is, we know what it is. Now we are instruments that have been actually really trained so well that now we can give and we can be there for others. That's how I see that. So for me, it was almost a gift to go through all that experience in life.
So,
Yeah,
Yvonne,
that's what they, oh, I'm sorry.
that's
I was
okay.
just going to say that's what they call true empathy because you've been through it. So you really know. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Sheila.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is there one thing in particular that you would like to leave people with? One message?
The message that I would want to leave everyone is that uh, whenever things are difficult, just remember that the circumstance on earth, the situation we have on earth, is just temporary. It's not the real you. The real you is that amazing being that we have maybe have experienced more lives before and after, and you are going to go home and be healed and go to another adventure. So take perspective in everything you experience, remembering that you're that amazing being of light, you are filled with love, and just take back your true identity and dare to love again yourself and others, because that's our true identity as being created by the source of all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Sean, the month has come and gone. Do you
I
have,
know.
I know it's been so quick. So thank you. You've been an awesome, awesome, awesome support and co-host, and I really appreciate you being here. Yvonne, I really appreciate you being here as well. I really, really enjoyed everything that you shared with us and definitely would love to have you back sometime. And Sean, of course, you're always welcome back anytime as well. And do you have anything that you would like to leave people with tonight?
You know, Yvonne said it all, but it really is just the love. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. And all these experiences too, they're all great. But if you don't embody the love like Yvonne, it doesn't really matter. It's all about the love. So if we can all just respond with love, as hard as it is, even in these days, I think that's truly the only thing we need to do, and all will be well. So thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you, everybody, for all of your support. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at Hawaiian Islands. And thanks again, Sheila.
That'll be absolutely awesome. Again, thank you. And I love our theme for tonight. All we need is love. I agree with that too. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for listening to us, for watching us on YouTube with the folks I've been sitting here chatting with. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And until we are together next time, much love to everyone and namaste. Mwah. Have a good night, everyone, and we will see you soon. Bye bye.